All
right,
let's get it.
Kick it over to JM the Thriller Priest for WWE.
Yes, I'll start off with
Series.
NXT first. NXT's Takeover War Games. The tagline was, "Houston, we have a War Games."
Oh, that's awful.
That's a stretch there. Yeah,
That's what the tagline was. I mean, hey, that's what they went with.
millennials.
Yeah, for real. So it took place in Houston. It was I thought this was a really good pay-per-view. So I'll go down through some of the matches. One, Velveteen Dream went up against Aleister Black. Velveteen Dream, for those of you who don't know, it's a great gimmick. It's like
he comes down in a rabbit suit.
No, walk me for a little bit. I'll walk you through him. He's like a Prince plus Gorgeous George plus Goldust sort of character. It works so well. It just works so well for this guy. Young black guy, very athletic, wicked tall. Just he's this gimmick, and it's to the point where the fans really like him. The matchup, the story builder for the matchup was blah. Aleister Black is this sort of occultish, superhuman who's really reserved, doesn't really talk, just goes in, kicks ass, and takes names. That's really all he does. So the gimmick was, or the matchup was, Velveteen Dream being this overly exuberant, very flamboyant, very feminine, if you will, sort of character, wanting to effectively get under the skin of Aleister Black. So the whole thing was Velveteen Dream wanting Aleister Black to acknowledge him and say his name. Horrible premise. It was very loose, but they made it work and they built it pretty good. To the point where this match was so filled with ring psychology. It was one of my favorite matches of the entire night because it's been a long time to see ring psychology. I mean, first and foremost, Velveteen Dream showed up with, I haven't seen these in forever, airbrush tights, a la Rick Rude. Had his face on it and Aleister Black's face on it. And props to the commentators for saying, yeah, man, remember Jake the Snake's wife was on Rick Rude's tights? So for those of y'all who don't remember, when Jake the Snake went up against Rick Rude, folks lost it because Rick Rude was known to put the female companions of his opponents on his tights. And he put Jake the Snake's Robert's wife on his crotch, which was just like, bro, you crossed the line.
Yeah, a little bit.
Earning that nickname Rude.
And you know how messed up at the time Jake the Snake was.
Oh, yeah, so it was a mess. It was just one of those damn Rick Rude. So they referenced that, like, Velveteen Dream got up on his tights, a la Jake the Snake. So, I mean, it was just great ring psychology. I mean, you got these big guys who were just flying all over the place. The audience was bought into it. Audience was saying, say his name. Like, it was just really interesting to see them get behind his heel. And it was just great ring psychology as a whole. Great, good spots. Good match overall. Aleister Black took it, but it was definitely a tight match. And the good thing is, Velveteen Dream's been wrestling for 3 years. I mean, he's a young guy. He's like 22, 23. So he's a young guy going up against a guy who's 13 years of the game. And just seeing this great chemistry between these two characters was really good. 4-way title match for the women's title. Peyton Royce, Ember Moon, Kairi Sane, and Nikki Cross. The one thing I really liked about this match was tons of high spots for the women. Peyton Royce was slated to win, or at least those on Twitter assumed that Peyton Royce would win. However, Ember Moon took it at the end. It was just really good to see all the bumps that Nikki Cross took. I'm a little bitter that Nikki Cross took all these bumps, including a powerbomb straight to the ground. I mean, the matting outside is like really thin. I mean, y'all been to gym class.
Yeah, got them paper ones.
The little really thin mats. And man, she got powerbomb hard on that match. She's like, oh, this woman takes too many bumps, bro. It's like dunk, like but it was.
Is she like a Mick Foley then? Is she just like every storyline has her as the punching bag for everyone else?
Not necessarily. I think she's her gimmick is crazy psycho. I'm willing to just go balls to the wall, and I think her gimmick, her character calls for it, but not necessarily her wrestling style. I wouldn't necessarily say she's a Foley sort of character who's willing to get her body beat up, but she knows
the hardcore thing.
Not the hardcore thing, but it's more or less, you know what? I know I'm capable of pushing the envelope some. And she did.
No one's slamming her on thumbtacks.
Nah, that sort of stuff. I mean, we're a long way from women getting thrown on thumbtacks, at least on WWE TV. All right, so I mean, series of moves that was really good. Say again?
Watching too much Japanese wrestling, brother. Watching the Japanese wrestling match where a dude pulled a gun on the other one.
Yeah, I saw that one too. He pulled the gun on him. I was like, what? Love me some Japanese wrestling, man. They be over the top too. One of the series of moves that was just great spots. Nikki Cross did a hanging swinging net breaker to Ember Moon, which was just executed so well. Peyton Royce probably has the best perfect plex since Mr. Perfect. Like, her perfect plex is just amazing. Or the Fisherman's Suplex, for those of you who don't know Mr. Perfect. It was just done so beautifully. Like, it's an art form watching her do it and hit the bridge. It's just like, wow, like, this is wrestling. Kairi Sane did a nice little combination with the Alabama Slam. which is kind of rare to see a woman do an Alabama Slam. I mean, those are just difficult moves to actually hit. You know, like what's an Alabama Slam? Effectively, you're holding them and you swing them and you slam them. Like their head slams to the ground. It's just an amazing move. Very simple, but it's hard to execute.
Wait, hold on. So what's your favorite move, brother?
I would say my favorite move is probably the cutter. Hands down, just
the
any sort of
cutter.
Yeah. Maybe diamond cutter, but more, I'll say more along the lines of Jay Lethal's lethal injection, where he does a handstand, bounces off the ropes on top, like stands on his hands, bounces off the ropes, and then catches you with the cutter. Okay. So that would be my favorite move.
All right.
But either way, any sort of variation of a cutter is one of my favorites, and Alabama Slam just hurts like hell. Let's say between that and the it's along the same lines of a spine buster.
Okay, yeah, spine buster sucks.
And Ron Simmons probably had the best spine buster, I would say. Some would say Arn Anderson, but I would say Ron Simmons.
Wow.
Even
better. You said Arn Anderson. I haven't heard that name.
Yeah.
Arn Anderson's still going.
Arn Anderson is really?
I mean, not wrestling, but I mean, he's in the back.
Arn Anderson had to be like 107. You talking about he's still wrestling?
He's in the back doing talent relations.
All right. Arn Anderson is an old school wrestler. That's who that was.
Kairi Sane hit the Alabama Slam, and then she did her insane elbow, which is just beautifully executed. And then Ember Moon ended up taking it by doing her Eclipse, which is a jump. She jumps up the top rope and catches you with a stunner. So it's nice little corkscrew stunner is what she does from the top rope. So it was a nice match, great, nice bumps. I mean, it was good to see these 4 women actually wrestle and go at it. Drew McIntyre went up against Cien Almas. Y'all been hearing about talk about Cien Almas, how he hasn't been pushed nearly as much. How they got this champion from Mexico. They just they built him up. Then he started a job of just taking L's, and they re-imaged him through a manager with him, Zelina Vega, great manager, who somehow, someway finagled him to get this title shot. He became NXT champion, and it's great. Chances are he's probably gonna be a transitional champion. Hold it for a little bit, then drop it. But I'm just glad that this guy got it because it's one of those great story of a guy who started off blah. It just built the fan base. The fans were cheering for him hard, cheering C just for him. It's just awesome just to be able to see that. And he did a great job. I mean, considering the fact that Drew McIntyre was like 30 pounds more than him, cut Diesel, Jack Irish dude, a good like 6 or 7 inches taller than him, but the match looked believable. That's a testament to McIntyre for making Almas look good, because typically when you have a match with that size disparity, sometimes it can go either way. Sometimes a big guy
take out Goliath.
Pretty much. And sometimes it looks like, can that little guy really beat him? But I mean, it worked out really well. And finally, the War Games match, you just need to go see it. I'm just going to tell you one spot. It was the superplex off the top of the cage. Like off the top of the cage from Adam by Roderick Strong to Adam Cole. Great finish. So check that out. All right, we're going to jump right into Survivor Series, considering the fact that my time is limited.
WWE Survivor Series.
All right, let's go. Shield went up against the New Day. A bunch of good spots that match. One of the things I want to point out is the fact that when Roman Reigns started off the match, or when he stepped into the match, the crowd still chanted, "You still suck."
Man, this guy's having a hard time, bro.
So that's pretty bad. They still chanted, "You still suck," to the point where Big E goes, "They're talking about you," and points at him. "They're talking to you."
Already acknowledged it on their part.
That's hilarious.
Just so you know, I'm gonna stop this match.
And just let them tell you how much you still suck. Because we all know this whole thing was a ploy to just kind of give Roman Reigns a push.
And I thought it was a good one, too.
It was going to be the cheer at the end.
Yeah.
But when he stepped into the ring, they still said, "You still suck." And it was hilarious.
Poor guy.
So, Shield took it. It was a great fight. New Day did really well. I'm glad that Xavier Woods spent a lot of time in the ring. Because typically, he's usually the New Day member who doesn't get nearly as much shine. Beyond his ability to talk trash. The ladies match between SmackDown and Raw. The highlight for me is when Nia Jax went up against Tamina in the match. So you got the 2 big women going at it, and it just looked beautiful. I mean, you see Nia Jax do a cannonball. I mean, I wasn't expecting her to do a cannonball. You see Tamina do several super kicks that come off the top rope like her daddy, Superfly Jimmy Snuka. It just went very well. And of course, Asuka was a sole survivor, effectively continued her push. AJ Styles went up against Brock Lesnar. AJ sells very well. I would say AJ is probably the best seller since Ric Flair. Hands down. He made Lesnar look amazing. And Lesnar actually fought hard. I mean, to the point,
which is something he hasn't been doing a lot.
Exactly.
Lately,
He's just kind of been.
He's definitely losing steam a little bit.
He has
been a little older. His matches are getting shorter. It's really
absolutely, exactly. I mean, he looked great. And he made the match look well. The Usos went up against the Bar. The Usos are just on a whole new level, man. Their character changes has definitely done wonders for them. the one thing about this match that was good, the Usos typically a high-flying sort of match. So for them to have their strength tested by virtue of going up against bigger guys was a good thing. So it showed their physical strength. At the same time, with the bar, it made Sheamus and Cesaro have to speed up to catch up with the Usos. So it was a good strength versus speed match, but they both had to step up their inadequacies in that area. So that was really good. Charlotte beat Alexa. All right. Finally, the last match with SmackDown versus Raw. You had Cena, Orton, Shane, Rude, Nakamura went up against Triple H, Strowman, Angle, Balor, and Joe. Hey, at the end of the day, the COO was one of the last survivors. Triple H stayed at the end.
Really?
He got the final pin.
You mean it wasn't John Cena?
Nope. Kind of wish it was John Cena, actually. So, I mean, you had Triple H there. You had Strowman there. There was like this weird thing where Triple H turned on Angle, pedigreed Angle so he could get the pin on Shane. So his hand was raised and Strowman's hand was raised. Strowman's angry because they did the whole pause and staring at Strowman and whether or not they're going to take Strowman out. So Shane and Triple H standing next to each other, staring at Strowman. Strowman's like, y'all, you going to turn on me too? That's when Triple H turns on Shane. Not really turns on him, but just
pedigree though, yeah.
Those are pedigree matches over. And Strowman's kind of like, don't you ever put me in a position where I'm thinking you're going to do something to me, sort of thing. We'll see where that goes. Effectively, all it really does is set up the match for WrestleMania between Triple H and Kurt Angle. I'm like, yo, it's a little too early to be doing that right now. Like, we got a little while for you to set up that match. So overall, this pay-per-view was actually a good pay-per-view, despite the fact that Raw took it 4-3, 4 wins to 3 wins for SmackDown. But overall, I thought it was a good pay-per-view, especially watching the women's title match. The women's Survivor Series match. Watching AJ versus Brock Lesnar, that was really good. And, of course, the Usos in the bar. Shield and New Day still pretty good as well, but I would say those are probably my top 3-4 matches.
All right,
and that's all I got, Pete.
Cool,
right.
cool. Thank you, brother. I'm a little perturbed that Triple H took it like that. But tell me, could that possibly be because he's COO?
I think it's a situation where Vince doesn't trust his new talent. He's willing to go out and recruit new talent.
I've heard that too.
But
but it's like, does anybody clamoring to see Triple H still in these serious matches and
I think
headlining
so.
a lot of things?
I think so. I think it's those people who just tuned in. These are WWE fans specifically who just started watching recently, who missed the heyday, who missed Triple H's heyday, who missed Brock Lesnar's heyday, who missed
But they're not going to build a
heyday.
new heyday if they don't turn it over the talent to let them kind of get the spot.
These are old people, man. Kurt Angle left twice because of health issues. He shouldn't be back now.
Yeah, he was looking rough. I mean, that took us in the match with his leg wrapped up. You sit here like, bro.
He looks like a giant pepperoni stick.
I mean, he does. He does. I mean, he does not look like he used to. He's just shell of himself, just like Goldberg's a shell of himself, you know. But it's one of those. You're playing to a base of people who wanted to have that but never experienced it. Kind of like when Hulk Hogan went to WCW in like '95. You know what I mean? Not before he was Hollywood, but he went down as red and yellow Hogan. Those Southerners didn't own Hogan. So he was still reliving his glory days that he had in the 80s because all the Northerners had Hogan because he was based out of New York with WWE or WWF at the time.
Well,
so that same sort of thing.
These cats, it's garbage and the cats are afraid of change. That's all I'm saying.
In some ways, yeah. And I think it's Vince afraid to take a risk in that sort of way too. Like, hey, I know they're going to draw. So I'm going to use Orton. I'm going to use Cena. I'm going to use Triple H. I'm going to use Angle because I know for a fact people know who they are and they will draw. Which
but Cena's putting people over, though, too. You know,
he is. He's doing a great job.
All right. Well, they'll come around, hopefully. Give it 2024.
We'll be here talking about it, yeah.